For many years, the Texas Homeschool Coalition has done an annual public information request to the Texas Education Agency. And in that request, we have requested data that the TEA tracks for all the public schools in Texas to track how many students withdrew from the public schools in Texas in order to homeschool. And that data is collected, but it's put out almost a year after the fact. So we just recently got the data for the 2020-2021 school year. And of course, the interesting thing about that is the 2019-2020 school year was the school year in which the pandemic hit in the spring of that year. And of course, we all know what happened there. The homeschooling exploded. Parents had problems with the whole school closing, the masks issue, the online curriculum, so homeschooling exploded. And so we've been waiting for this issue because the real question for everybody was, would we see a continuation of an expansion of homeschooling in this demographic group, or would we see that draw down? We had some anecdotal evidence relative to, for this last school year, for 2 years in a row now, public schools have seen a declinement in enrollment. And they've acknowledged that this is happening all across the country, including Texas. And public schools in Texas have actually not only acknowledged that, but they've actually said the reason they think that is happening is because more people are choosing to homeschool. So this interesting data came out. And now just a little caveat here. So one of the things the TEA does is they only track that data for 7th to 12th graders. So to put that in perspective, only 7th to 12th graders. And we think that as a result of that, those numbers are going to be low. But here's what those numbers say. Those numbers say that from the 2019-2020 school year, when the pandemic hit and homeschooling exploded, to the 2020-2021 school year, we saw a 40% increase. That means there was a 40% increase over the biggest year explosion of homeschooling in Texas history happened last year. So that is huge. And it goes along with our anecdotal evidence. So the question that becomes then, so why are people doing this? So we don't have the school closures anymore. So what is driving this? So a number of issues. Let me just give you one of those. One of those issues is what we continue to see, this whole issue of anti-racist curriculum, anti-racism, which is clearly just racism being taught in the public schools. There's a recent article in the Texas Scorecard articulating one parent found a lesson plan in the elementary school in Austin, and this is some of the things in that lesson plan. These are elementary age kids. These are some of the things. Black people have less and white people have more. Whites make it harder on black people. Whites boss people of color around. And then, of course, one of my favorite, New York has more freedom to vote than Texas. So that is obviously a critical race theory-based approach in elementary school. And, you know, when we saw this begin to happen last year, we saw parents going to school boards and raising these issues, say, we don't like this, this is wrong, we shouldn't do this. That whole pushback with school boards. But now what we're seeing is that there are some parents who are just saying, you know what, enough is enough. I am not exposing my children to this racist approach and curriculum. And then, of course, the other issue is transparency of curriculum. You know, parents just want to know, parents are reading about these articles and they're saying, well, I want to know if this is being taught to my kid. And they want to go up and look at the curriculum. And a lot of these school districts are saying, you know what, sorry, we can't show you that curriculum. Parents are going, what? My kids are being taught this and you're telling me I can't look at the curriculum? You can't show me what's being taught? So that's a problem for parents. And then, of course, in relationship to that is this whole idea of pornographic books. There's a legislator in Austin who is arguing that sex education is probably the most important class that students will take. And he's arguing that this attempt by parents to remove these inappropriate curriculum, the books that are actually sexual in nature, they're actually pushing this transgender approach to children. And this guy's saying, you know, that's book banning. We shouldn't do that. And of course, the interesting thing that you've probably seen some of these news stories where they've got parents who have seen these books and are at a school board meeting trying to help the school board understand that this is inappropriate, and they're reading from those books, and they get stopped saying, "Hey, you can't do that. There are children here. You know, we can't say that across the airwaves." But of course, we've got them in our junior high and high school libraries. So that is an issue. And so you put all these things together, and parents are continuing to become aware of what is being taught to their children. They're saying, I don't want to expose my kids to this racism. I don't want to expose my kids to this transgender agenda. And so parents are voting with their feet. I'm continue to be glad that parents are going to their school board, running for school board, trying to change the policies in their school districts. And I applaud the public school districts in Texas who are responding to those parents and changing those policies. But here at the Texas Homeschool Coalition, we celebrate the fact that parents have a God-given right to raise their children as they see fit, and including decisions regarding the education of their children. So thank you for watching the video. I hope you'll share it, pass it on, like our channel, and thank you for helping us keep Texas families free.